I have a theory which says that technology always helps you compose yourself. This was one example. While we are waiting, I could get a chance to compose myself. Uh, I received this email from Karthik, and I must thank him for having called me here, because listening to the speakers got me fairly excited, and I could see several dimensions that society is now seeing. While I was reflecting on what to speak on, we are essentially teachers of Kautilya Arthashastra. We are training students to join politics, and we have a 6 months course, as the introduction said. It's a residential program. Interestingly, it's free of cost. We do not charge a single paisa to our students. The logic, of course, this is not the platform to talk of the logic for it. But what I definitely want to talk about is, while his mail detailed, it said 18 minutes is what you will get to speak. Now that 18-minute triggered quite a few thoughts in my mind. And one of them was, I got reminded of one documentary which I had seen some time back, where Harish Bhimani, I don't know how many of you know him, he is the voiceover in the serial Mahabharata, and he was talking about Lata Mangeshkar. He used to say, Lata di, whenever she would go for a new song, she would get the notes, she would get the song, and there she would go and deliver. But the moment she had to perform the same song which she herself had sung on a stage, she would rehearse it for days to end. And she would also make life miserable for all the musicians who would accompany her. 20 days of practice for one song. And he would say that originality is not bound by limitations, not bound by time. Creativity is not bound by time. But the moment you have to replicate originality, you need to rehearse. Okay? So in a sense, I am trying to bring the timeless wisdom of our Shastras in a time-bound fashion. I'll stick to my time of 18 minutes, hopefully. Yeah? Because we as teachers are prone to speaking a lot. Timeless wisdom, so we also get identified with it and become timeless ourselves. But today I hope to stick to time. And I still remember, when you are pushed into a corner, you tend to do better. And I am reminded of my engineering days when we used to have a joke. I did engineering several decades ago, okay? Most of you would have been born after that, possibly. So during my engineering days, we used to have this joke which would circulate. There was once a survey being done where people used to ask the question that you have a 1000-page book. How much time do you think you'll take to read it? They asked a doctor first. So doctor said, I'm used to mugging, you see, so I can read it pretty fast. So I would do it possibly in a week. Then they went to a lawyer next and asked the same question. It's a 1000-page book. How much time do you think it will take? And the lawyer said, you see, I need to read the book. I need to read between the lines also. Okay. So maybe a month. So on and so forth. And then eventually they reached an engineer and asked the same question to him. He said, exam kab hai? Yeah. So the point here is, if it is 18 minutes, let's respect that. And we'll stick to that 18 minutes. But what I definitely want in the next 18 minutes is want the audience with me, because here is we are going through a reflective process. I'm not here to talk about any of my theories or what we should need to do in society, what we need to achieve in society, because I believe all our leaders, all our activists are a reflection of our society. Okay? They are no different from the society. So if we have bad leaders today, we need to think, is our society good enough? If we have activists who need to play a great role in society, wanting to change people's lives, then we need to think that society, is it good enough? We started this concept of a Gurukul because we believed that society needs to take responsibilities for its leaders. If we make responsible leaders, you will have leaders who will run the country well. So for the next, I think I've already spoken for 5 minutes here. So that leaves me with 13 minutes. So I shall try and complete it in it. But let me set the context of my presentation. Okay, because we need all of you to be with the speaker, because I shouldn't go off on a tangent which varies from your direction. Okay. As it is, we have an age gap to bridge. Yeah? And I don't want to lose the momentum. I remember this joke which was narrated to me very beautifully. It said about a guy, a young boy who bought a car and he wanted to show it off to his grandfather. He said, "Come on, grandfather, let's go for a drive." And right enough, he went and banged into a tree. So the grandfather got off and looked at him, then looked at the car. So this boy got irritated. He said, "What are you looking at it?" So he says, "Whenever there is no tree, how do you manage to stop the car?" Yeah. So I am a car which is now in momentum. So we'll go on. Anvikshiki. This is the first word in the Kautilya Arthashastra which we teach, and the word means several things. One of them is philosophy. The other is the science of thinking. Okay. Now here, when I said setting the context of my speech, here let's try and look at dimensions of thinking, because society gets transformed through transformation in thinking. Yeah. And I'm a teacher of political science in a sense, because we are teaching Kautilya Arthashastra. But I was wondering, what dimension could I give for somebody who's talking of social leadership? Now I am not restricting myself here to social leadership only. I'll talk political science also, because somewhere they converge. And this is a first science that a leader needs to know, the art of thinking itself. Okay. Unfortunately, our education system teaches us many things, many skills, doesn't teach us how to think. They say, God sends man with the faculty of thinking, but you could still waste a lifetime without thinking. Yeah. So we do not want that situation to arise with our new generation. So whenever I am in front of a young audience, I love to talk about the art of thinking. We take full day workshops also for students who are interested, but I am not making a pitch here. We'll move ahead. Point is, transform yourself before you try to transform the world. Leaders set the standards in society and people follow them. Bhagavad Gita says, "Yad yad acharati shreshtaha tattadeve tarojanaha," which means whatever standards the leader set, the followers try to emulate them. So as leaders, beware of what standards you are setting in society, because people will not go by what you say, they will go by what you do. The final part of my context setting is, we are not here to build reputations. Do not try to become famous, but become men of character, integrity. When Swami Vivekananda gave his clarion call, he said, "Atmano mokshartha jagat hitayacha." First realize yourself, then go and transform the world. Do not jump into transforming the world without having transformed yourself. Now this is the context in which I am going to make my entire presentations. I am going to talk about 9 steps to building character, because I think there is enough and more said about what Mumbai needs, what can be done, what can be changed, what are the different needs of society. What I am going to talk about is how each one of us can build character. Let me tell you, this is not an original thought. You may or may not to take your notes, but because I'm going to leave the presentation behind. That is, if you're interested in going through it. But these are timeless wisdom which I have just reflected upon, and I'm going to share it with you all. Okay, the first trait, we all talk about this, humility. Humility, they say, is a very strange thing. Swami Chinmayanandaji used to say that it's a very strange thing that the day you know you have it, you've lost it. Okay, so do not try to become humble, be humble. Yeah, do not try to be a good person, be a good person. Yeah, and start inside out. They say for a leader, the best way to do leadership is to bow and then lead. Chanakya would say it in a different context. He would say, the head which doesn't bend gets cut. Okay, so if you have to win people, learn to bow. Yeah, and you will realize that it's a very good tool, good visiting card to have for a leader. Assertive, not aggressive. When I say assertive, be clear what you want to say and say it nicely. They say be aggressively good. That is assertiveness. Yeah, and finally, The last dimension that I want to talk about humility is open to challenge. So somebody who is humble is the one who is unafraid. So if you see the descriptor that I have given for the word, now this is the pattern I'll follow. 9 steps to go. I have finished the first one. The first one says humility. The descriptor there is fearless. 3 dimensions I have given for people to take any of those. And let me also say a few more things here. One of the things that I definitely want to say here is that I am talking of 9 steps. Yeah, but the fact remains, like a table, like this table has 4 legs. This is not a typical table, this is a slightly different kind of a table. But usually you will find a table with 4 legs. You could move a table pulling all the 4 legs, or you could move the table by pulling 1 leg. So while I talk of 9 steps, you will realize that they are in essence 1 step. Right? So the next 8 steps that I will talk of are only unraveling the same theory in different dimensions. Unpretentiousness, all of us want to be somebody else. All of us want to be software engineers. Every Tamilian girl today is married to a software engineer from the US, and because software pays. Yeah. So what happens to you but in the process? So what you are leading is somebody else's life. When Steve Jobs says that, we all agree. When our Shastras say Swadharma, follow your calling, it finds very little resonance, because Jobs has done a better job, yeah, in society. So my point here is, when you are unpretending, it leads to no hypocrisy. You are what people see, yeah, and you need to follow your Swadharma, your own calling, something which you think you can do for the rest of your life, and that is what keeps society alive and kicking. Then you will not talk leadership, you will not talk of bad leaders, good leaders. Society will find its own equilibrium. Okay. Then finally, on this on the unpretentiousness is the ability to face the truth. Most difficult. They say you can face bullets, but you can't face the truth. How many of us are go to do a medical test so easily without the fear of a disease? We are afraid that we might end up finding out some disease which we didn't want to hear about, and not ready to face the truth. Non-injury, Gandhiji called this ahimsa, the Shastras called it ahimsa, sorry, Gandhiji used it. And basically these are all goody points: bearing no ill will, devoid of pride, jealousy, sensitive, not emotional. This is something which I want to talk about. Okay, all of us tend to become very emotional about things, you know. He gets hurt very easily. You see, he's a sensitive man. What do you mean he's a sensitive man? Sensitivity is about understanding other people. Sensitivity is like that guitar string which sends out the right note. You call a guitar string sensitive when it is optimally tight, not too loose, not too tight. Yeah. So that is what sensitivity is. So sensitivity in your mind is about understanding other people, understanding their requirements. So if you intend to be a leader, please learn this knack of understanding what somebody wants to say. Chanakya says a leader should never miss a point. So if you do not know what the other person is trying to convey to you, you cannot be a leader. And more important than not, saying the right thing at the right time. There are many people, you can call your mother Ma. There are others who call her, "Eh, mere baap ki biwi." Both are technically correct. But do you know how to say it? Very important. Yeah. So it is important that you say the right things at the right time, because it has an impact. And a leader, like I said, sets the standard in the society. Forbearance. Many of us get into activist social life and are already talking about people do not understand me. You know, they don't understand what I am trying to do. Here I am trying to help him, but this man refuses to understand. But who are you to decide what is good for him? Yeah? You do your duty. You decide what is right for you. He will decide what is right for him. This is the way society has to progress, not people deciding other people's lives. And ability to bear short-term pain for long-term gain. Many of us jump for the best job, the best paying job, not the job which will give us satisfaction. Okay. Now this is something which as a society we need to change. Yeah. Very difficult, let me tell you, because the peer pressure is very high. They say if you are out of the rat race, you cease to be a rat. How many of you got it? If you win the rat race, you are still a rat. Yeah. If you go out of the rat race, you cease to be a rat. If you win the rat race, you still are a rat. So please decide what is good for you. They say that it is better to die doing your swadharma or your calling than being a very successful person doing other people's lives, living other person's lives. So this is not what we should aim for. This is what we should try and inculcate, that short-term losses for long-term gains are the best strategy. And please understand that there should be an inclusive approach in society which is win-win. Stephen Covey talks of it in different dimensions, but I want to talk about win-win in a slightly more societal approach. When I say win-win, whenever we deal with people, usually our tendency is to say, "Isme mera kya?" Yeah. The best way to look at it is, "Isme hamara kya?" Okay. And that is when people will be more willing to join you. They will be more willing to work with you and more willing to realize the vision that you have set out for yourself. Straightforwardness. Straightforwardness when we talk of clarity. Yeah. Arjun. Arjun by itself means straight. Yeah. Arjavam is the word which is the root in Sanskrit. Straight means somebody who never wavers from his vision, who has his sight set on the goal at all times. Somebody very rightly said, I don't know who it was, she tried swimming the English Channel and she kept swimming, and there were people, and then her body started failing. The people who were there in the motorboat alongside her kept goading her, go ahead, you are reaching there. Yeah. But she kept swimming hard, and after a point, it so happened that she was so tired that she almost said, I don't think I'll reach there. And then suddenly a cloud rolled over, and then it was so dense a fog that she just couldn't reach her goal. Then when her interview happened after the next day or maybe the same day, she was asked, what happened? Because you were just about 50 meters away from your goal. She said, I made the mistake of not keeping my sights on the goal. So I didn't know I was just 50 meters away. Now this is something which you need as youngsters. First decide on a goal and then keep your sight always on it. Because they say obstruction is what you see when you lose sight of your goal. Yeah? When you do not set your sight on your goal, you see only obstructions. You will see only problems, no solutions. Okay? And so positive attitude at all times, self-belief. There are so many English words in the dictionary which will define all of this. I'm not here to cover all of them. But yes, one of the things which you definitely need to learn is teamwork, which is to understand differences. If all of you were to think alike in a group, then you need only one person, right? You don't need more. You need just one person. If everybody was to think alike, you need only one person in a group. Everybody else is redundant. So understanding this difference. Why do you think Indians do well when they go abroad? Because a North Indian, when he goes to South India, it is no less than going to a different country in a different longitude. The foods are different, the language is different, the way you curse is different. So Indians tend to adapt so easily anywhere because that diversity itself is present in India. Like the other day, one of the professors who had come from Gujarat, he was talking about a forest which has only one kind of tree dies very fast because all it needs is one disease and the entire forest is gone. But if it is a diverse forest, there is lesser chance of the forest itself vanishing. Okay, so please understand this, that diversity is the strength which has to be built in any teams. Okay, this is one point which I want to make with a lot of emphasis, because this is a point which all of us miss out in leadership. That is, you need to have an altar at which you bow. When I say altar at which you bow, because most of our leaders think they know everything. most of our problems today is that our leaders do not have mentors whom they bow down to. Their guiding lights, the people who will tell them right from wrong, they are the people. These people are absent in society today, and it's a vanishing race, unfortunately. So we need to have this altar, identify with the larger vision at all times. And Vriddhadarshi is a word which is used in Sanskrit. Vriddhadarshi means a mature. Vriddha, many people think, is old age, but it is maturity necessarily doesn't come from old age. Our Shastras say it comes from three things: age, it comes from knowledge, and it comes from austerities. These are the three things that a person who intends to be a mentor should inculcate within himself. I'll quickly run through the other two because I think I'm nearing the end of my time. Purity, both external and internal purity, devoid of all false values within us and without us. So we should have a purposeful conduct, and one of the dimensions which I always talk about is seeing things as they are. Do not go with any prejudices every time you interact with anyone or any situation. Steadfastness I did in a sense refer to, but one thing which you definitely need to know is do not get into this comparison bit. Okay, that what he's doing, oh, he's a doctor, he's earning a lot more. Oh, I am a lawyer, I am I'm not so respected in society. Oh, he's an engineer, oh, he must be an intellectual guy. So no, do not go into those comparisons. Think what you're good at. Yeah, Outliers is a book which I had read which says that if you do something for 40 years, you'll be the best in the world in it. Yeah, so you need to find out your strength and continue to do it. Lead by example. And this is the final point that I need to make, which is about self-restraint. They say a life of true discipline is only a free life. Many of us believe the other way. We believe that a truly free life is the one without discipline. But I would say that self-restraint, doing the right things, following the right values is a good virtue to harbor, because you're going to set the standards in this society. Which also requires you to be integrated in mind, speech and action. Many of us believe in something, do something else and say another. Okay, so do not do that because it leads to splitting of your own personality. Get yourself integrated and do well in life. So just to tell you where the source was, 18 minutes was what I was given. Sorry, I exceeded the time, but 18 days was the Mahabharata war, and the beginning of which was the 18 chapters of the Gita. And this is a sutra from there, shloka from there, which is from the 13th chapter of the Gita, shloka number 8, which says Amanitvam, Adambitvam, Ahimsa, Shanti, Arjavam, Acharya, Upasanam, Shaucham, Stairyam, Atma, Vinigraha. This is the 9 qualities out of the 20 qualities which are prescribed within 5 shlokas in this section of the Gita. Thank you very much.